All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our first presentation as a part of Making Sense of Sense for the spring. My name is Brooke, for those that don't know me, and I work at Alzheimer's Services as a program coordinator. We will have two more presentations as a part of this series over the next two Tuesdays. And by attending all three of these presentations, you can get a free consultation with a select elder law attorney. So, definitely a great encouragement to utilize and attend all three of these. If for some reason somebody does miss a presentation, we will have it recorded and put on our YouTube channel as well. I also wanted to shout out our many events that we have coming up at Alzheimer's Services. If you are new to Alzheimer's Services, we are always doing stuff. And over the next few months, especially, we have so much fun stuff coming up. Over through May, we have, of course, our Lunch and Learns. We have Brain Cafe tomorrow. We have Sip and Support and all of our care partner support group meetings.
Mm.
Next month, we have a really fun TLC coming up. So you can always find all of our upcoming events on our website. And of course, you could reach out to us at the office if you have any questions. I did also want to say that all of our uh, participants will remain muted through the presentation, but if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box. Ms. Carmen, we've been talking about how she really likes a lot of collaboration during her presentations. So if you have any input or comments or compliments, go ahead and put them in the chat box and we can read those out during the presentation. Um, I will now introduce our presenter for today. Of course, that is Miss Carmen Millian. She began her career with the Better Business Bureau in Lake Charles, Louisiana in 1983 and was named the President CEO of Better Business Bureau serving the Southwest Louisiana in Lake Charles in 1999. During her tenure, she and her team focused on senior awareness and student education programs. Despite being the second smallest Better Business Bureau nationwide, the Southwest Louisiana branch consistently achieved top ranks in market share, retention, and complaint resolution. In July of 2018, Ms. Carmen was appointed President CEO of Better Business Bureau of South Central Louisiana. And since then, she has worked to bring that same level of awareness to the capital region. Under her leadership, the Better Business Bureau of South Central Louisiana has seen significant growth in both business membership and public awareness. And of course, she is going to be presenting to us today on protecting older adults from scams. And we look forward to having you here, Ms. Carmen. Thank you for taking the time to teach us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Brooke. First of all, I'd like to welcome everybody here. This is unique for me doing um, a non-in-person speech, but we're going to talk about things that I think will affect each and every one of you. First of all, I'd like to begin by saying the Better Business Bureau is a nonprofit organization. We're not for profit. Our main service is providing information. While we do handle complaints and mediate issues, our main service is providing information to consumers to help them make an informed decision. So I'm going to talk about different subjects, different scenarios that may affect everyone involved in this call. And I will tell you that it doesn't matter how smart you are, it doesn't matter what your background is, what your history is, what your education is. If the timing is right, if the situation is right, anybody can be a victim of a scam. So what we're going to try to do is give you some tips to protect you and your loved ones from being victims of scams. So we're going to go ahead and start. Um, One of the things that we'd like to talk about are why seniors with dementia are targeted. I think the main thing is that scammers will exploit consumers or target consumers that may have memory loss, they may be confused, or they may have a lack of trust and authority. And so we want consumers to be aware of that. A scam that failed yesterday may succeed today. That means that they may try you today. They may not get you today, but they may try again tomorrow. They always use emotional triggers, such as fear, urgency. You have to do this now, or you're going to miss out on this deal. Also, authority. It's the police department, the sheriff's office, something that makes you um, feel like you have to do something right now, urgent. You don't have time to talk to people. They want to box you in, so you have to talk to them and make that decision right then. It's not about intelligence. It's about vulnerability. And that's why I always say it doesn't matter what your education is. If you have a situation and they target you on that particular day or time, you could be a potential victim. We have judges that call us. We have attorneys that call us. We have law enforcement that contact the Better Business Bureau. So understand that if you have been a victim, you're not alone. Okay, we want to target next the types of the most dangerous and the scams that we receive most of the calls about. And so, authority scams, family emergency scams, and tech support and account compromise scams. Those are scams that we receive calls on most often. So we're going to target the first one, imposter authority scams. Let me give you some examples. And so these are calls that we get every day. You get a call from I got a call from a lady the other day that said that it was Medicare calling her and that she had an issue with her Medicare card and that she needed to give them some information. She needed to click on a link, whatever they were trying to get her to do. Well, you have to understand that Medicare is never going to call you, first of all. And even if caller ID shows Medicare on your caller ID, you can't trust it. So I want to say this again. You can never trust caller ID. Scammers can manipulate the phone system. They can make it look like it is actually Medicare calling you, and you should not click on it. You should not give them personal information. You should not assume that it's valid. In fact, you should assume that it's not valid, hang up the phone, and call Medicare directly from a number that you actually know. It may be a text or email from somebody saying they're with your bank and that your personal financial information has been compromised. Assume that this is not valid and contact your institution directly. A common theme that we get calls on all the time, and this is why these scams work, is because they're based on fear. We get calls from consumers, and a large number of these are senior citizens that are told that they need to pay a bill that is owed, or there's some reason that there is now a bench warrant out for their arrest. They have a ticket from a past uh, yeah, a ticket from, maybe getting from law enforcement in the past or something like that. They'll give you whatever excuse they need to make you believe it's valid. But what they do is they use fear to perpetrate the scam. So they're going to tell you that if you don't respond to them or pay this debt immediately, they're going to have a bench warrant for your arrest. And what we want consumers to understand is that you cannot be arrested for debt you owe, even if you did owe it. If that were the case, we'd all be in jail, right? So assume that that is not valid. You could call law enforcement, and I guarantee you that they are going to support what I'm saying right now. Another common one is Internal Revenue Service. Who's not afraid of IRS? Most seniors are not even filing tax reports, but they will tell you that you owe taxes from 2018 or whatever, and that if you don't make arrangements to pay the IRS, they're going to put you in jail. They use those tactics to scare you. Publishers clearinghouse is a really common one. Who doesn't want to win money, right? They call you, they tell you that you've won money, that they're going to send you a check, and in some cases they will send you a check, and then they want you to cash it and buy a gift card to pay for the fees, and then you give them the number on the gift card, and that's a common thread on how they contact scam people, is because they use that gift card. You give them the number, they can remove every penny off that gift card. Those are all warning signs. Um, I got a call this morning from a lady that had received a call from somebody that told her that there was a government program that was going to help them pay for their electricity and their bills and whatever. And they actually sent her a check for $10,000. She deposited the check, but and that was yesterday. What she doesn't realize is probably within a week or so, that check is going to come back as bogus. And so any money she spent out of that $10,000, any money that she wired to the company, she will have to pay back. And so she's actually the victim. And of course, so is the bank because they made the money available. However, any fees that were incurred, the bank is going to go back to that consumer. Nobody is going to give you something for nothing. If somebody tells you that it's a government program, contact the government. Contact your legislators. Check with the Better Business Bureau. Don't assume that it's valid. And just because you get something from a friend that says they participated in it is doesn't mean it's valid. Your friend's Facebook may be hacked, or make sure that you contact an agency directly from a number that you know is accurate. And if you're not sure, contact the Better Business Bureau and we'll put you in contact with the right agency. Family emergency scams. This is another one. We call it the grandparent scam. I'll tell you a story, and I like to tell stories. So, when I first moved to Baton Rouge, I gave a speech to a church somewhere in this area. And we talked about the grandparent scam because most of the consumers in that speech were senior citizens. And after the speech, I had a gentleman come to me and he told me that he had just been victimized by this scam. And I told him, I said, let me ask you this. Did they call you and tell you that your grandchild or whoever was on a trip out of the country and that they got in a wreck and they had hit a pregnant lady? She was in the hospital. They arrested him, and then you called your they called your grand the grand they were having you call them to make sure that you could get money to pay for your jail fees. Then the next day, if you gave that money, they would call back the next day and say the lady died. And so now he needs more money to hire an attorney, that sort of thing. And here's the attorney you can speak to. This gentleman actually spent $15,000 on this scam. And the only reason he stopped giving money was because he went to a family event like a week later, and that grandson that was supposed to be out of the country was actually at that event. And he asked me, he said, I thought you were in jail and, wherever. And he said, no, I've been here the whole time. And that's when it dawned on him that he was being victimized. And scammers are very good. They will target a large number of people. For instance, I don't have grandkids. I will not be a victim of this scam. But if they call 1,000 people, they're going to get somebody who has a grandchild. And they use that scenario. Hey, Grandma, this is your grandson. Oh, this is John. Yes, John. Grandma, I need your help. Don't tell Mom and Dad, you know how they are. Look, I need your help. Once I get back in the country and get back home, we can go talk to Mom and Dad together. So, they won't be as angry. And they try to isolate you. And so that's an emotional way to get you to be a victim. And it's urgency. I need it now. I need to get out of jail. And who doesn't want to help their grandchild? So you want to make sure if somebody's calling you, even if it sounds like a family member, hang up and call that family member from a number that you know, or call somebody else that you know where that person is. Don't assume it's valid. Don't let fear or scare tactics um, allow you to be a victim. Tech support scams. I always like to talk about this one because I've been doing this for a long time. As Brooke told you, I've been doing this probably for 43 years. And I used to think senior citizens would never be a potential victim of a tech scam. And I'm finding that's not true. These tech scams, they're very good. They'll call you and they'll tell you that your software is compromised, that they are with a well-known agency and that they're going to help you get rid of the stuff that's on your computer. And all you need to do is click a few buttons. And what they're doing is they're guiding you to let them onto your computer. And their sole purpose is either to release a virus or to try to get any personal financial information you have on your computer. Never fall for this. Never allow anybody to get onto your computer. And if you did, immediately disconnect it and and call a professional. And then excuse me, one of the things you would need to do is make sure that you make sure that your software is updated, that your virus protection is updated. Make sure you talk to a professional that you know from your area, that you can trust. Don't assume anybody that's calling you is valid. When in doubt, always check it out and always contact the Better Business Bureau. So some of the things that we always tell people is, these scammers are very good. They're going to target a large amount of people. They may only catch one or two, but when they get you, they're going to use phrases that are common, like, don't hang up. I need to talk to you. And they're going to isolate you from family members or loved ones. And so they're going to want to try to get you in their confidence. They're going to want you to trust what they're saying and to feel that this person actually hears your pain and whatever it is you want to talk about, and they will draw you in to trust them. And they're trying to build that relationship. And they try to make it more personal than it really is. And they want you to isolate yourself from your family members. They don't want you to talk to your caregivers. They don't want you to talk to your kids or your brothers or sisters or neighbors. They want to try to tell you that it's just between you and them, that it's what they're going to tell you is important, that it's something that you have to resolve immediately. And a lot of times when they ask for money, it's a now or never deal, or there's going to be some kind of consequence at the end. They're going to make you feel like it's valid. And the one thing I want to say is that scammers are very intelligent. They know what they're doing. They know how to tap into your personality, to find those weak spots that they can hone in on to try to get you to trust them. These people are very educated. They just happen to use it to the wrong side of the law, and that's unfortunate. But you have to protect yourself. I always tell consumers and business owners even, you have to be your first line of defense. Always protect yourself. Never give personal financial information out. Never assume that whoever's on the other line is who they say they are unless you've called them from a number that you know is accurate. You have to protect yourself. And you have to understand that the Better Business Bureau can only do so much. We can educate you and help you make an informed decision. But once you've been a victim of a scam, chances of us helping you or getting your money back are slim to none. In fact, the lady that called me this morning that got that check for $10,000, she actually withdrew 1,500. She's going to lose that 1,500. It's gone. She spent it, she sent it, whatever she did with it, she is not going to get reimbursement for that. But she has to understand that, thank God she only lost $1,500. If she spent any more of that money, then she would be out all of that money. And these scammers in most cases are not in the United States. They're out of the country. And so, and so chances of you getting that money back are very slim. And so we always tell people, when in doubt, check it out. Contact the Better Business Bureau. Um, what I like to say, Ronnie has my assistant here has a statement in here. It says, stop, don't act, call someone you trust. What I like to say is take a deep breath, take a step back, listen to that little warning bell that's in your stomach that is making you second guess whether they're valid or not. Listen to that. It is never going to steer you wrong. And the main thing is to understand that the Better Business Bureau and other agencies are here to help you. We're here to answer your questions. Never feel like calling the Better Business Bureau is not worth it. And there's no stupid question. It's always a valid question. Um, if you're thinking about it, somebody's already asked it, and we're never going to not try to assist you. The other thing that the Better Business Bureau will do is if we're not the agency can help you, we will direct you to the proper agency. But you need to understand that the Better Business Bureau is here to answer any questions, to assist you, to advise you, to walk you off the cliff. In a lot of cases, we have kids that will have us talk to their elderly parents to explain to them that this is a scam, that these people are not trying to assist them, that they are trying to take your money. Um, and you should never give out personal financial information. I'll say that again. Be your first line of defense. When in doubt, always check it out and always contact the Better Business Bureau. That's what we're here for. I'm sorry. It's we always suggest it again. This is just reiterating what I was saying. Pause, take no immediate action. Anytime they tell you it's now or never, or there's a time limit, that's a warning bell. Verify. Never assume, again, if caller ID says something that is valid, they can make it say Medicare. In fact, last year, the Better Business Bureau was a part of a scam. There was a scammer that manipulated the phone system, did a robocall, called thousands of people, and on the caller ID, it said Better Business Bureau. And we were getting hundreds of calls every day from people saying, I just missed a call from this number. It's not the Better Business Bureau. If we call you, we will always leave a message. But we were essentially a victim. So again, you cannot trust caller ID. In fact, I recommend that you have an answering service. That way, if you don't recognize the caller, you don't recognize the number, let them leave a message. If it's important, they will. If not, you dodged a bullet. Ignore it. And of course, never be afraid to ask a caregiver, a family, or a neighbor about a situation. It's always good also, if you've been a potential victim, to share that experience with your family, your friends, your neighbors, your church, because I promise you, somebody in that may be a potential victim and may could use your experience to avoid being a victim. So share that information, but always be willing to ask somebody if you're not sure about something. And if you don't feel like you want to let them know that you're having this dilemma, contact the Better Business Bureau. No judgment, just information. That's what the Better Business Bureau is there for you. So we have what we call caregiver reinforcement. What we recommend as caregivers is that you can post reminders near the phone, computers to remind consumers not to give out personal information, not to give their social security number, not to give that caller too much information. And when in doubt, if you're not sure, just tell them to hang up or give the phone to you. Um, I always tell people sometimes it's easier to have a rehearsed statement. If somebody calls and you're not sure what to say, if they ask, is this Carmen? This is she. May I ask who's calling? You need to take control of that conversation. You need to make sure that you can find out who is calling, their company name, their address, and their phone number. And don't be afraid to say, I don't do anything without my kids making that decision. Or I don't do business with anybody without checking with the Better Business Bureau. But get the information. They're either going to give it to you or they're going to hang up. If they give it to you, hang up and then call us. But make sure that you have an automatic spill where you take control of that conversation and ask questions. If somebody's telling you that you won $1 million, well, how did I get in that drawing? Did I, and they're going to make it seem like you you registered to win that prize when you don't remember, but they're hoping that you don't remember because they're going to hone in on that. So you need to make sure as a caregiver that you talk to your clients, that you ask these questions. And if you feel like there's a concern and they're not willing to speak to you, then again, have them call the Better Business Bureau. And we will walk through that scenario with them and let them know if they're being scammed or if it's valid. I mean, that's what the Better Business Bureau is for. Some of the protection systems, um, I get calls all the time from people that tell me, oh, my phone rings off the hook. I get all these calls. A lot of them aren't valid. What do I do? There's no there's no exact science to stopping this, okay? You can have all the laws you want. If they can't enforce them, then they're useless, right? And most of these scammers out of the United States don't care what the laws of the United States are in, or so they're not going to abide by those. But you can get with your phone company and see if you can block calls and if you can put in place spam filters. Um, you also want to be aware of financial alerts. Check with your financial institution. Don't assume that that is your bank that's calling, even if the number shows up. If you feel like you've been a victim, if you've given out personal financial information to somebody you don't know, then you have the opportunity, and you can do it even if you haven't been a victim, to freeze your credit, right? And while the Better Business Bureau doesn't handle that, we can put you in contact with the proper agency. And actually, it's annualcreditreport.com. They will give you access to Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, and then you can put freezes on your credit. And what happens is they give you a PIN number. So if you were going to make a purchase, you would have to use that PIN number to release your credit. But until then, nobody can access your credit or get credit in your name without you giving that PIN number. So that's a safety feature. Um, Also, you can remove easy access to cash, checks, and gift cards. Never, if somebody contacts you and they ask you to buy a gift card, don't do it. If they ask you for anything, don't fall for it, any money up front. Consider a power of attorney. I know when my in-laws were elderly, they passed away a couple of years ago, and they were getting to the stage where they were having issues. We made my husband the power of attorney. He didn't control anything, but he was there to assist them if for some reason they were incapacitated. They couldn't sign a contract. They couldn't do any of those things without talking to him. And it took the pressure off of them and brought it to my husband in that case, and it worked out really well. Make sure you only deal with trusted contacts with banks. Make sure you know who you're dealing with. You don't want to just assume that you're talking to the right agency or the right person. Make sure you have contacts that you know are valid and that you can deal with, that you trust. For medical professionals, what we suggest is that if you have an elderly client, make sure that you look for financial distress. If there's anxiety tied to their phone calls, you notice that they're on a phone call with the same person that's not necessarily a family member, and it's consistent and it's long, and it's just not normal, then you might want to ask them some questions and try to dig into who's calling them, why they're calling them, to try to determine if they're being a potential victim. And of course, the final was repeated account problems. If they have those issues, you need to be aware of it and alert whoever is in charge, their family members, or another appointed person that is in charge of their accounts. Make sure you notify them so they're aware there's a potential issue. Okay, key principles. Although seniors and individuals with dementia may be at higher risk, scammers will target anyone. I tell people this anytime. I always say if the moon and the stars are aligned, if the timing is right, anybody can be a victim. As I said again, we get calls from judges, attorneys, law enforcement. They're potential victims. And they will target anyone. In fact, years ago, it was mostly targeted to senior citizens because seniors were retired and available. Now everybody has technology. Technology is a wonderful tool, but it allows better access to a larger population so that they can target more consumers. So anybody's vulnerable, but you have to be, again, your first line of defense. You have to protect yourself. Um, and so what we say is that protection should not depend on cognitive capacity. So you have to protect yourself. That doesn't Anybody can be a victim. Um, Systems plus support equals safety. So you have to have the certain systems in place. You have to have the people that support you, that you can go to, that you can lean on, even if it's the Better Business Bureau, to provide you a line of safety. And of course, just remember, we're all in this together. Everybody's been a potential victim. I promise you, anytime I give a speech or a conversation with a group of people, somebody in that group has been a victim and they're too embarrassed to talk about it. And I understand that. We always would be embarrassed, but you have to blow that away and know that if you share your experience with somebody, you may be saving somebody else the grief. The other thing is that by sharing that information, it will, and of course, get it off your chest. You will let other people learn from it. But then we will also tell you to use that bad experience as a learning tool. Okay, now I fell for the scam, but now I know not to do that. And sometimes we need that wake up call to really bring it home that we have to be our first line of defense. Just like the lady I talked to this morning, she was a senior citizen, and I told her, you've lost that $1,500. The bank's not going to give it back to you. These scammers obviously not going to give it back to you. So you're going to lose that $1,500. And instead of being upset, don't beat yourself up. Just understand that as a $1,500 lesson. It's painful, but it's a lesson. It could have been 10,000. So we want you to be your first line of defense. When in doubt, check it out. If you're not sure what to do, contact the Better Business Bureau. If for some reason we're not here, leave a message. We will always contact you back. And just to let you know, if you feel like you've been a victim of a scam, also you can report it to the Federal Trade Commission. I will tell you that the Federal Trade Commission and the FBI, for instance, will only accept those alerts if it's a certain amount of money. If you've lost $500, they're probably not going to touch it because there's so many of them, but you can still report it. We also have a link on our website. It's bbb.org/scam tracker. And so you can log scams. You can actually go to our website and look at the current scams that are happening right now. Report it to your bank. If you gave your personal financial information out, the first agency you need to contact is your bank. You need to put a freeze on it so nobody can have access to your account. You want to lock those accounts down fast. You want to get with them immediately, at least stop the bleeding. Even if they've removed some money, at least you can stop it from continuing. And then if you're not sure what steps to take, you can call the Better Business Bureau and we'll direct you. The faster you act, the better chance for recovery. Oh, okay, yeah. And document everything. Make notes of everything. If somebody calls you, ask them, I need your company name, your address, your phone number. Why are you, the reason for your call? If they won't give you that information, hang up. Never be afraid to hang up. If you hang up, then you've dodged a bullet. And again, our office phone number is 225-346-5222. You can go to our website and check out a company. You can file a complaint on our website. You can log a scam there, or you can email us if you have any direct questions.
Fantastic. Thank you, Miss Carmen. I knew that was going to be so great. And I mean, I know that was a lot of information in a short period of time, but I mean, you knocked it out of the park. Lots of great info. So right now, the chat is open. So if anybody has any questions, we have a good bit of time that we can kind of go through this. Miss Carmen has mentioned to me that she loves interacting and having a conversation about these things. And so please feel free to submit some things for the chat for us to interact in that way. Ms. Carmen, a few questions that I've gotten. What are some, I imagine you've been in this field a very long time. You are probably so specific on what choices you make when it comes to, you know, giving your data out to anybody or things like that. So I'm curious, what environmental protections do you do for yourself?
Well, let me say something. You brought up a point that makes me think of this. You know how when you go to the doctor's office and we all go and they ask for your social security number, just like anything else, you have to, whether it's the doctor's office or any agency, and they're asking for your personal information, you have to ask them, well, you should have it, and why are you asking for it again? And then what are you going to do with that information? Who has access to that information? You have a right to protect yourself. You have a right to ask those questions before they ask for personal information. Another thing is when I'm talking about, and I'm just talking generic, easy, non-technical solutions. Stay on top of your banking account, your financial accounts. Make sure you're looking at those as often as you possibly can. The faster you find an issue, the faster you can get with your bank or your financial institution and report it and stop it. We have people that call us that had companies that access their account and remove small amount of money over a long period of time and they didn't realize it. So you have to stay on top of those things as well.
Hmm. I know we had talked briefly about shredding documents too, protecting yourself in those ways.
Yeah, and the Better Business Bureau, never allow information or paperwork with personal financial information to lay around your home. And I will say this, it's a scary thing, but most people who are victims of identity theft are victimized by people they know. People who have access. Of course, identity theft is basically a crime of accessibility. They're dumpster divers. So you want to make sure that if you have personal information and you want to destroy that information, to properly destroy it. And we say if you're going to shred it, cross shred it. In fact, the Better Business Bureau has a shredding event every year. In fact, we every April we're at the police department on Airline in Baton Rouge, and we're going to do one in Ascension like in October, November. And we allow you to bring all of your documents, and we will professionally shred it on the spot.
Hmm. That's awesome. Thank
Oh,
you. Okay, a
that's
couple of questions that we have
okay.
here. One, kind of along the lines of that identity theft. What are your thoughts on LifeLock, that company, or similar services? Are there ways to protect credit without using a paid service?
Well, the easiest way, of course, is to freeze your credit if you want, and that nobody can get into your account without you. And you would go through Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, which are the three reporting agencies. In fact, there was a law that was passed in 2005 that allows every consumer to get a free copy of their credit report and to also put a freeze on their credit. And you would go to annualcreditreport.com. That is a protected, safe site. It's where I get mine. The good thing about that is you can go on there and you can look at each credit report and see if there's any discrepancies. You can put a freeze on it. You can also dispute a charge if there's something on there that you didn't authorize. Um, and I will tell you, they are going to ask you if you go on that site for your social security number, your mother's maiden name, and your date of birth. But then they're going to ask you multiple choice questions that only you're going to know. Your house, you've lived on this street, you own this particular car, and they'll ask you several. It's filtering system to protect you. But once you get on there, you can access it, and you can also elect to freeze your credit. LifeLock, there are a lot of agencies like that are very good. And if you want to get a list of those and to check their profiles, you can go to bbb.org and look at LifeLock. Sometimes your financial institutions will offer that service. You just need to ask. But if there's a fee, you need to understand what that fee is going to be, how it's going to work, and really keep an eye on those fees. And what are they going to offer for that service?
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that. And whenever speaking about credit freezing, we had spoken about that. Yesterday we were talking about, how I talk about credit freezing with helplines, with folks with dementia and their care partners, and how certain people may be making decisions irrationally, financial decisions, whenever they're not able to, make those decisions rationally. And so we can help in freezing the credit of a loved one who may be making decisions financially that are not in their best interest when they still have control over their financial
Right.
accounts, property, things like that. So just another thing for us to keep in mind. We have one comment in the chat that says, remind folks that if they have an American Express card, they will never contact you and ask for a 7-digit code that was sent to you. That was a scam that this person has failed for before, and they had to get a cancel their card and get a new one. So I think that is a great point that text messages over, you have a UPS package that was lost or um, different things like that when they're kind of
Yeah.
fishy.
Yeah, these financial institutions, the IRS, the Medicare, none of these agencies are going to call you on the phone necessarily. But even if you think it might be valid, again, don't assume that it is. Hang up and call that agency directly from a number that you know is valid. And that brings to mind another, I wanted to say this real quick. We have another scam that we get a lot of calls on. And it's really not funny, but it can be if you're not victimized. But people will call us and tell us that a friend on Facebook told them about a government grant they could get. And I will ask them, did you talk to your friend? Did you actually pick up the phone and call your friend? And it'll take me a good bit for them to understand that when they're saying yes, they spoke to their friend, they're literally talking about that Facebook post. And so we will tell them that their friend is a victim, their Facebook list has been hacked, there is no government grant, and that you need to call your friend and alert them that every person on their list is getting that same email, and there are going to be people that fall for that. In fact, there was a scam where this happened to somebody where their Facebook got hacked, and the message said, "I'm in a foreign country. I lost my wallet. I just need some help to get back to the United States, and I'll pay you back." And one of the friends sent it to a church, all of the congregation, and people were sending money, thousands of dollars, and she was literally at her office. And so those were multiple victims. And so even if it's something you think is from a friend or a family member, if they're telling you that you've won something or that you're going to get a government grant, which is not going to exist, if you're going to get money or they're going to help pay your bills, um, assume that it's not valid, investigate before you invest.
Mhm. This is what it sounds like. It's one of those situations where it always can help to be suspicious a little bit, be suspicious of everything and just trust but verify in a lot of ways. Okay, we got a comment that said that she wants to support the comment that you made about education level doesn't protect you necessarily. And over time, she's had different family members that have been victims of different scams, and they all had advanced degrees. So definitely, it's one of
I,
those things. It's not when it's going to happen or if it's going to happen. It likely is going to happen to you, and it's just if it was at the right time.
Yeah, we had years ago, I received a call from a deputy in another town, and it was a sheriff deputy, and they owned a restaurant. And they received a call, and that call was supposedly from Entergy saying that they never received their payment for their utility bill and that they were going to shut off their electricity within the hour if they didn't pay the bill. This deputy paid the bill, then called me. Well, why did it work? There was a restaurant. It was close to noon. This was their hot hour to serve meals. Fear, gullibility, rush. And this person said, well, look, I'll pay it and then I'll go back and work it out with Entergy. Entergy's never going to call you. They'll send you a letter. The
Mhm.
IRS is never going to call you. They're going to send you a letter. So assume that it's not valid. Assume that you have to investigate. Use use common sense. If you're not sure, then always check it out. It's always nothing is going to happen overnight. Nobody is going to send a police department to arrest you. Nobody's going to arrest you for debt. Nothing is going to happen overnight. Nothing. Always take a step back, take a deep breath, check with family members, somebody you trust. When in doubt, you can always contact the Better Business Bureau.
That's so interesting that you mentioned that, Miss Carmen, because I also know somebody that has fallen for that exact Entergy scam. And it was where the electricity at the home was going to be turned off and they needed to pay through some gift cards. And they had to go to the store and get some gift cards to pay their energy bill. And in the moment, as a third party, that doesn't make sense. But in the moment, that person didn't want their energy to be cut off. And
Well, they
so,
may have somebody with oxygen at home, and that's a fear.
I mean, it definitely helps to take a step back. Whereas if you would have just went and checked your energy account online and you would have seen, well, I'm paid up. I don't understand where this is coming from. Then call Entergy from the phone number on their website. It definitely, the things that you're saying are, definitely applicable.
Yeah, nothing's going to happen overnight. Just remember that. Don't ever let somebody um, make you a victim of a scam if it's based on fear, if it's rush. You have to do this now. Your opportunity, you're going to miss your opportunity, or we're going to turn you in. We're going to have a bench warrant for your arrest. All those things, or to put you in a corner where you make a very bad decision. People
Mhm.
make bad decisions in a bad situation, but don't. Take a step back, take a deep breath, and check on it first.
Definitely. Another comment is talking about how they hear about home title lock and how there is home title theft and scams with your home title. Can you talk about that? I've
There's
never
a
heard of that before.
commercial. I know what they're talking about. There's a commercial on TV right now that's warning everybody about this scam. And I'm not saying it can't happen, but you need to know who has um, you need to check with your title company, whoever you have your loan through, or whatever the case may be. You can check with them periodically and ask if there are any measures that they can take to protect you in that instance. But that commercial is somebody soliciting you for business. And I see it all the time. And it is a scary thing, but you need to just make sure if you're afraid, anytime you're afraid, call your agency from information that you have from your account that you know is valid. Ask them that question and ask them what measures they have, what tips they have to protect you from being that victim. But never be afraid to call them and ask them. I promise you, they are getting a lot. That commercial runs every day. They're getting hundreds and hundreds of calls. And there are people that are victims. And that's something else. Most people that are victims don't know about it until after the fact. And that's why you have to be your first line of defense. You have to keep an eye on your credit. You have to look at your bank account every day. You need to, or have somebody in charge of that look at it. You need to check if it's your title of your home or your car or whatever. Check on those things regularly. And so you've built that rapport. And so that person at that agency will know who you are and they'll know that that's not you. And if that comes across, they'll know to question it.
Great point. Great point. Um, Someone says that she has a protection program that will notify her if her name, personal information is on the dark web or other places. They remove it, um, but it can appear again in the future. Is there anything else that she can do to protect her personal information?
Look, I will tell you the best way to avoid being a victim of a scam is to not help the scammer. Do not provide that information. Do not, give out that information. And if it's somebody, an agency that you're aware of, you need to ask questions. Why do you need this? What are you going to do with it? And how are you going to protect that? Do not give the information out. The other thing is people who post on Facebook. This is amazing to me. They will post all of these things like, this is my family, here's my names, here are my kids. You're basically giving these scammers ammunition to target you. So you really need to be private. Consider the information that you're putting out there. I always tease my friends that will post, I'm on the plane heading to another country, and I'm like, I always post, text them back and say, I'm coming to your house to rob you. You're not home. The main thing is don't make it easy and don't provide that information. Make it harder. Anybody can be a victim, whether you're doing that or not, but you need to avoid providing that information as much as possible. Again, be very um, skeptical, no matter what. I don't care who they say they are. I call people back and I immediately say, this is the Better Business Bureau. I'm returning your call. You called about this. They can either hang up or they can call me back. I will accept either, but you have to make sure that you have to protect yourself.
Definitely. Somebody just commented, can your voice be recorded when you answer the phone and they pause to hear you talk? They call back and use your voice to contact another family member. Have you experienced that?
We had a scam several years ago, and we called it the yes scam, where they'd call and say, "Yes, I'm. Is this Carmen Million?" And you'd say yes, and then uh, they would accept that, they would take that or whatever, and then they would sign you up on a contract, and you'd say, I didn't agree to that. Well, I have you tape saying yes. And so that was one of the things that we would tell people, if you're going to answer the phone and somebody asks, is this Corman Million speaking? How can I help you? Or who's asking? Come up with something that you immediately respond to instead of saying the word yes. Now, AI is a beautiful thing. Technology is a beautiful thing. However, there are scammers that will use AI to clone you. I mean, you see it all the time now, and so you have to be cautious. In fact, I saw something where there's a young lady on I think TikTok or Facebook or whatever, and she was talking about her life and whatever. Well, somebody cloned her kids and we're making separate stories and making it look like it was her. And she had to get authorities involved. The Federal Trade Commission is a good one to get involved, and they'll investigate these things. But don't make it easy. Don't put all that information out. Be very cautious about how much you put out.
Yeah, it seems like that's a common trend that we're hearing today of, just be extra cautious on the front ends because it's much easier to prevent than it is to kind of clean up afterward.
Absolutely.
Um, so I know we've touched a little bit about this, but can you talk a little bit about shame and stigma and how that relates to scams?
I will tell you, I've given speeches over the years, and it's kind of funny when I'm giving a speech and I'm talking about a particular scam. It could be the grandparent scam, it could be the IRS scam, and there's always somebody in the background that's snickering and and they think it's funny. Oh, I'll never be a victim. I just talk trash to them. I always tell them, don't take that attitude. You could be the next victim. It may not be exactly like this, but you could be a victim. The thing you need to realize, as I said again, anybody can be a potential victim. Don't be embarrassed about it. It is we've all been potential victims. We may have all been in that particular situation, but instead of being embarrassed, to be emboldened to share that information to let other people know that yes, you were weak, you were a victim, but you've learned from that, and you want them to be aware of it. But never let shame. The media calls me all the time and they want to do a story and they always want a victim. And I tell them that's not going to happen. You're not going to get a victim because they're too embarrassed to admit that they were victimized. But as I said, I have judges that call me. I have law enforcement. We have attorneys that call us and ask us information because they could be a potential victim. If the timing is right, the situation is right, and you may be in a vulnerable situation, you could be a victim. If you have been a victim, Don't be afraid. Contact the Better Business Bureau. Contact family members. Let them know. If you're not, and I always tell people, if you're that person that's not strong enough to say no or to hang up, then either don't answer the phone or give it to somebody else. Don't be shy. I hang up. they call the Better Business Bureau. I hang up. I'm not interested in what they have to say. And I'll tell them, sometimes I'll say, do you realize who you're calling? You're calling the Better Business Bureau. Click. If you push back and you ask for that information and you take control of that conversation, they know that you're not going to be an easy victim and they're going to disconnect. But if you have been a victim, now, if you've been a victim and okay, it's over, shame on them. But if you've been a victim over and over again, that's a different story. You need somebody to be that person that will take control. And that may be a caregiver, a family member. That's when that power of attorney comes in. So they can't make those decisions in a weak moment.
Yeah, I think that brings up a really good point of being vulnerable and how, especially our loved ones that have dementia, or let's say our teenagers that just don't make good decisions, any vulnerable person that, you know, uh, needs extra support, it makes sense to have another person to monitor, or at least stand by that person to just double check and verify that yes, this is right, or no, this is not right. Let's look into it more. But especially for folks with dementia,
Right.
who want to be independent and who want to, keep charge of their own affairs as long as possible, it just adds another layer of protection to have a trusted source involved as well.
Absolutely. And a lot of times when we get these calls from senior citizens that have been victimized, um, they are spending so much time beating themselves up because they fell for this scam. And I will tell them, you need to stop beating yourself up. You need to quit worrying. It's over, it's done. You can't get your money back, but use it as a lesson. But also know your personality. Some people they're just so nice, they're too kind, they don't know how to, you know, be strong, hang up the phone, tell somebody no. And you have to understand your personality, whether it's cognitive or just a personality trait. And if you're that person, you need to be aware of it. You need to I tell seniors, even if you don't have this, tell them, look, oh, my son controls my account. I don't make decisions without him. Use a crutch if you need to. If you aren't strong enough to say no, then use that crutch. My son, my attorney, whatever. It doesn't matter. Push it off on somebody else. If that's the way if that's the easiest thing to protect yourself that you need to do, then do it. But if you've been a victim, don't be embarrassed, but you do need to talk about it.
And also, like you had mentioned earlier, the scam tracker that y'all have on y'all's website, report the scam so that other people can be aware, so it doesn't happen to other folks too.
Yeah, and when they report it on BBB Scam Tracker, we do not divulge their personal information. Okay, we just divulge the scenario, what happened. And so we want and it allows us to see trends, what's hitting the area now, because it's cyclical. There are different scams that happen, and really, essentially, it's the same scam. Their goal is to get you to give your personal financial information or provide money or whatever. They just change the scenario to meet the timing or the time of year. And so you have to always be on your toes. And again, if you don't have that strong personality, make sure there's somebody that you know and trust that you can contact, even if it's us.
Love that. Thank you, Miss Carmen. Thank you, Ronnie. I so appreciate y'all's time today, and that organizations like this are available to support in so many different capacities. Thank you for including your contact information there, and I'm gonna take a little screenshot of it, and then I will also put that on the follow-up email that I'll send. And I appreciate y'all's time today, and we're right at 1 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and end the presentation. But I hope to see everybody attending this at our next Making Sense of Sense next Tuesday. And as always, if anybody has any questions or concerns, y'all could always reach out to us. But I think that ends us for today. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Brooke.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Take care.